Hi everyone, I want to make a casual chatty video today and check in with everyone about how you're doing and what you're reading during this time. So I thought I'd make a book tag video and a brand new book tag that was just created a couple days ago by Ariel Bassett is the Stay Home Reading book tag, obviously in response to current events. And I sort of feel like I'm in this quandary that like I think a lot of YouTubers are in, and that I don't really want to talk about all the time everything that's happening at the moment, but at the same time, how can I not talk about it because it's consuming all of our lives and our daily existence. I mean, yesterday I got to a point where I just couldn't watch the news anymore. I don't want to see updates about how many deaths there have been and problems of trying to get safety equipment to hospitals and stuff. Obviously, all this is very important and pertinent, but I'm just staying at home, and me stressing about all this stuff every day and daily updates, unless something major happens, I feel like I don't need to know about all of the details and be obsessively watching the news all of the time, because it just gets way too overwhelming. So I'd rather just talk about books for a little while and books that we'd like to read, and that's what I've been doing in my recent videos and been enjoying that. So I'm going to go through these prompts and talk about all of these. If you want to answer them in the comments below or make your own video, that would be really great as well. So the first question is, how is your reading going while staying at home? It's just a sort of general chatty question. And I think, like a lot of people, and like I've been talking about, I feel like my reading is actually staggered and slowed quite a lot, even though you'd think I'm staying at home, so I should have a lot more time to read. But I've found the stress of current events, and I'm a really sensitive person, so I find it really difficult to relax and read and get into what I'm reading while all this is happening. And also, my partner's home all the time, and while that's wonderful in a way, and I love spending time together, and we have a great time, but he's a much more social person and will often go out and be out for drinks or for some sort of like party or something while I stay at home reading, and obviously that can't happen during this time, and so we're just so I found whenever he's not working and I'm not working, then we're spending time together doing stuff, which is lovely, but it means that I get less reading time than I normally would. And I know a lot of people are in that situation of being at home with their families all the time. It's harder to find that reading time that we would normally have in between other activities. And also just the stress of, like, yesterday there was a really stressful thing that happened where so I talked about before how in my library I'm not able to film in my library because right adjoining is another apartment, and you can really hear through the walls everything that's happening. So I know if I'm making a YouTube video that they'll be able to hear everything I'm talking about while I'm making this video, but the same goes the other way. So I'm able to hear them all the time, and they have two young children, and it's quite noisy. And yesterday, they had a massive fight. The couple had this really big screaming match where things were being broken, and the children were crying a lot. It was really like stressful and upsetting, and I felt quite worried because during this time, domestic violence rates are going up quite a lot because people are stuck in with each other so much, and sort of the husband, he stomped out and left, and my partner and I weren't really sure what to do because we wanted to sort of extend out and help if we could, and so we sent a message just to the wife saying we couldn't help overhearing that there was a commotion, and so just we're here if you need anything, or if you need any help or anything, please let us know. And and we didn't want to sort of interfere in their privacy or anything, but at the same time we want to check in and make sure that everyone is safe. So it was a tense situation and hard to know what to do in a situation like that. And obviously I'm sort of worried about them, but also like personally it's quite upsetting for me because, like I said, I'm a sensitive person, and so I find that that sort of thing really disruptive in that I find it difficult to relax for the rest of the day and just enjoy reading time because that is going on. And also it sort of throws me back to my childhood and when my parents would argue a lot and I would feel sort of helpless, and so I can't help projecting myself into the lives of those children who are having to witness their parents go through all this. So yeah, obviously it's a very stressful time, and so that it does deter on my reading. And but I'm hoping to read more. I'm hoping to be able to concentrate a bit more on some more books and just get kind of lost in literature for a little while. So the second question is, where have you been reading at home? And and mostly I've been reading here in my bedroom because it's sort of the quietest place in the flat at the moment, since my partner works in our living room and kitchen, and like I said, the library is sort of gets quite noisy because of through the wall, and so even though in this bedroom it's close to quite a busy road, still it's the quietest place currently in our flat. So that's where I've been doing a lot of my reading. The best book you've read during isolation. And I mean, this month so far, I've only read 2 books, so there's not a great deal to choose from because, like I said, my reading is just slowed down. But probably the best book I've read is Anne Tyler's new novel, Redhead, by the Side of the Road. This is an advanced copy, so it's quite a plain cover, but this is the finished copy, and which is quite beautiful. And I just found it's so relaxing, Anne Tyler's writing, because she writes about everyday situations of individuals and families in Baltimore, and how it's sort of the everydayness of daily life that she gets into, but explores the psychological complexities of all of that, and how the protagonist of this novel is a man who is in his early 40s, and he's very settled in his set ways and seems to have quite a stable life, but then it sort of creeps up on him how things aren't as perfect as they should be, and how it's kind of a hindrance that he's stuck in these ways. And so I just enjoyed following the calmness of her narrative and her storytelling, which is very moving and powerful, and she's absolutely one of my favorite writers, so I'm always happy when there's a new novel by her, and I really enjoyed this book. So next question is, what's your favorite feel-good book? And mine is one, I have to say, The Journal of Joyce Carol Oates. I mean, I talk about Joyce Carol Oates all the time, but this book in particular is such a joy to read because she kept a journal for many, many years. This only covers the years 1973 to 1982, so a decade of her life. And she recorded almost every day her experiences and reflections on writing in life. I mean, she's famously known as such a prolific author. And often people ask the question, how does she write so much? And I think this journal shows that really it's just the daily experience of dedicating yourself to the craft of writing, because she writes in the journal about how she's tackling a different narrative problem or structural problem or issues with her characters, or some research she's doing for something she's writing, or new fiction she's writing, and just shows how that's just such a daily process and dedication, and that's the reason she's able to write so much. There's no magic formula to it. That's just how she's able to do it, and I find it so moving and interesting how she tackles all these problems and really thinks about them in a complex way, and is reflecting on different literature she's reading and how she might get ideas from that. But also there's just lots of beautiful descriptions of what the day is like on that day. She'll talk about the weather or how the sky is looking. So there's a lot of beautiful natural descriptions in this as well as some fun like literary gossip. I mean, she's meeting a lot of the most famous authors during that time, and so her interactions with them and her impressions on them, and her experiences in the business of literature and all of that as well. So yeah, I just find this such a relaxing and calming read, as well as like a really insightful one, and one that I'll just go back to quite often. I'll just like flip through and read passages from it. I just enjoy it so much and can reread it so much and get so much more out of it every time I go back to it. And it's also lovely on the inside of the book. I keep a ticket from when I went to see Joyce Carol Oates at the Edinburgh Book Festival back in 2012. That was, I think, the last time she went to the Edinburgh Book Festival. And it's funny, when I've gone since then, and I've posted about it on Twitter, and she'll like respond and say like oh, it's such a wonderful book festival. I'll probably never go back to it, but I really loved it. And she had also signed this book to me, to Eric, with much affection from Joyce. A book you wish you could buy or borrow from the library. And so I sort of have a multiple part to this question, in that new book of short stories I'd really like to go out to a shop and buy is I Know You Know Who I Am by Peter Kisbert. This is a new book of short stories, which has been published in America, hasn't been published in the UK. So what I would like to do is go to a bookshop in New York City and buy a copy of this book, because I was thinking earlier this year how I'd really like to go to New York City this year, because I haven't been for years and years, and I used to go quite regularly because I love New York City and I have a number of friends there. It'd be lovely to see them, and there are so many great bookshops in New York. So yeah, I'd really love to go back there. So I wish I could go there to a bookshop there and buy a copy of this new book, and you know, hopefully later this year, maybe at some point, but who really knows? I mean, I think maybe international travel will be completely out for the rest of this year, but you know, at least hopefully next year I'll be able to go to this. And this sounds like a really interesting book of short stories. A lot of the stories are about people who have created this elaborate lie about their life, and then it's how they're sort of trapped in that lie and the consequences of that, which is a really intriguing subject matter. And a lot of the short stories are about the lives of different gay men. So yeah, I think this would be a really great book of short stories to read. So the next question is an author you want to shout out during this time. And one author I'd like to shout out is a really interesting author called Monique Roffey. And she has this new book of hers called The Mermaid and the Black Conch. And one that has a really curious storyline. So it's about a mermaid who washes up on the shore and gets involved in the lives of different people on this Caribbean island, and how the women, the local women, sort of get jealous of her, and the struggles of that. But what's so interesting about this author in particular, and why I'd like to give a big shout out to her, other than her having this new book out, is she writes about really diverse subject matter. I've read 3 other books by her. I've not read this yet, but yeah, I've read 3 of her other books, and all of them are quite different from each other. And I really admire that in a writer who can have such a range of styles of writing, as well as writing about lots of different subject matters, that I think is really admirable. So I've read her books. She wrote a novel called The White Woman on the Green Bicycle, about a couple that moved, an English couple that moved to Trinidad, and how their struggles of adjusting to that life, but also their struggles of their relationship and staying together. And this novel was nominated for the Women's Prize back like a decade ago, when it was still called the Orange Prize. And that was a really good novel. But also she wrote a novel called House of Ashes, which was such a powerful novel, set on a Caribbean island about a military coup that occurs in a government building, and the process of that building being taken over, and a number of people being held hostage. It's a very tense novel, as well as really interesting political novel. And then she wrote a novel called The Tryst, which was about a couple and a sort of magical figure that becomes a part of their relationship. And there's a lot of overt sexual descriptions in the novel, but a really interesting probing into the mechanics of sexuality and the psychology of sexuality, and yeah, and the whole odd social interaction of that, and this mysterious figure that that intrudes upon their relationship. And yeah, and I really enjoyed that. And so yeah, I think she's just such an interesting writer that more people should read and enjoy. And this book is her new book is being published by Peepal Tree Press, which is a independent press that publishes a lot of Caribbean and Black British writers and literature. So those are all the main tag questions. And then Ariel has created a few different prompts because she's hosting a special edition of the Reading Rush Week, a read-along for the current times. Usually it happens during the summer, and so she's made a number of prompts for this. I don't know if I'm going to join in the Reading Rush because usually before, when I've done read-alongs and done a vlog recording that experience of the read-along, I like to record my experiences around London, and obviously I can't do that during the current time. It'll just be me in my flat, which would be sort of interesting. Or I could film the local area as well when I go out to the shops or go out to do my exercise and all of that. So so I might join along, but I'll read and yeah, respond to the prompts just in case I do get to it. So there are 4 reading challenges. The first is read a book with a house on the cover. And the one I want to choose for that is Dominicana by Angie Cruz, which has a building. It's somebody hanging out of a window of that building. So I think it counts. I think, yeah, this sort of qualifies as that. And also, this is longlisted for the Women's Prize currently. And I have to admit, I've been really rubbish about reading books listed for the Women's Prize this year. It's one of my favorite book awards, but I've just been more drawn to reading books for the International Booker Prize. So I've been concentrating more on that. And yeah, my reading has just slowed down. So haven't got to a lot of the long-listed books. And in a week's time, the shortlist for the Women's Prize is going to be announced. So yeah, I know I'm way behind on that, but I think that's totally fine. And this is one of the books I'm really keen to get to from that list. So the next prompt is read a book in the same room the whole time. Well, it's quite likely I'll just read a book in my bedroom the entire time if I do this read along, and I'm just going to be reading here anyway because this is where I am. This is where I'm stuck. The next prompt is read a book set somewhere you wish you could go. So going back to the earlier point about wanting to go to New York City, and another book from the Women's Prize long list that I'd really like to get to is Red at the Bone by Jacqueline Woodson. This is mainly set, I think, in Brooklyn, but also other parts of New York City. So this fulfills that prompt, and it's quite a short book. So and you can see it's like only 196 pages long, but it's quite big type, and so yeah, I don't think it'll take me very long to actually get through this. And then the final prompt is read a book that will make you smile. And like I said with Joyce Carol Oates's writing, I really like reading descriptions of nature, and since I can't go out into the nature, and quite often when I take holidays with my partner, we like to go to national parks and go hiking there, and obviously I can't do that now. So a book I think that would make me smile is this book called The Living Mountain, a non-fiction book by Nan Shepherd, where she writes about I think Scottish mountain. And this is a reprint. This was first published many years ago, but this is a beautiful reprinted edition of it with an introduction by Robert Macfarlane and a afterword by Jeanette Winterson. And so, yeah, this is a book I've been really meaning to get to anyway. And I think it's meant to be really beautiful nature writing, and I know that would make me smile. So yeah, this is one I want to get to. So those are all the prompts. Those are all the questions. Let me know if you want to give your responses to them in the comments below. That would be really lovely. And or if you want to make your own video response to this, please do. I'm not going to tag anyone in particular, but if you have a YouTube channel, consider yourself tagged. And yeah, and like Ariel said, I think this is just a wonderful, good community exercise to stay connected to each other during this time. And I really enjoy hearing about what everyone else wants to read during this time, what you are reading, what you're enjoying reading, the challenges you're finding as you're reading during this time, and as we have all these pressures and struggles, which are very particular to what's happening now. So Thank you for watching. Really enjoying chatting with all of you and staying connected with all of you on social media. And I'll hopefully chat with you again soon. Bye, everyone. Happy reading.